When King of Dragon Pass was originally released in 1999, it was frankly just not the kind of game that people were looking for. If we look at 98 and 99, especially in the PC gaming realm, there are some really fascinating and revolutionary games coming out. Games like StarCraft and Half-Life, franchises that are incredibly revered to this day. But Dragon Pass feels like a game straight out of the DOS era, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, mind you, but the timing on its release could not have been worse, and so the game was slowly forgotten over time. But recently, some re-releases and a spiritual successor have brought this game back to the forefront. But is it worth revisiting? To be honest, that re-release is what drew me to this game. I never played King of Dragon Pass when it came out. I mean, it was wholly unappealing to me at the time, but it's one of those games that I feel like actually works better in today's gaming climate than it did 20 years ago. King of Dragon Pass is at its very core a strategy game, not necessarily in the traditional turn-based or real-time sense that you usually see in PC games, but more like a tabletop game, and that you're slowly building out strategies that are going to last you the entire game, and you're playing against other players, other factions that are trying to challenge you for whatever it is you're trying to do. The game has you leading a clan in this fantasy world, the makings of which you get to decide to some degree. Whenever you start a new game, you are presented with choices about the history of the world and the history of your clan, and those choices will affect how characters think about the world, how you interact with it, and how you interact with those other characters. The past of your clan very much influences its future. Once you're done making those initial choices and going through a quick tutorial, King of Dragon Pass dumps you in a rather unexciting menu full of choices. On any given turn, you can choose to set out and explore the world, negotiate with other clans, trade, declare war, make sacrifices to the god, build new temples in your village. The list goes on, and really coming to grips with all the options and how all those options can affect the game takes quite a while. But it's because the game is basically just a series of menus and static art that it's able to provide you with such a wide variety of choices. There's no need to create animation or even model out specific actions or structures. The fact that something happened is often just represented by some text, though more major events often get unique art that depict the happenings. But it's not just things you're directly controlling. The game will also constantly throw random events at you, forcing you to make a choice that will likely have extensive repercussions in the future, or maybe repercussions right then and there. It forces you to deal with things that just happen. And then 5 turns later, or maybe even more, you'll be faced with the repercussions of your actions and forced to make yet another choice, or deal with the effects that your choices are having. And a lot of those effects are rooted in the game's lore. Pages and pages of which are readable in the game itself, the history of the world and its gods. Thankfully, you don't have to trudge your way through all of that in order to make a somewhat informed decision, since you have a team of advisors called the Circle, which is randomly chosen at the start of the game, but whose members you can replace as time goes on. Do you find a specific member's advice totally worthless? Get rid of them, though it might make some faction inside your clan angry. Each member of the Circle will have their own opinion on how you should handle a situation, which makes it useful to have a diverse selection of different perspectives, different approaches to each problem. Every time there's a decision to make, these Circle members will show up on screen, telling you what they think you should do, sometimes giving you an explanation as to why, sometimes not. It's up to you to choose which of them you should trust. If you have any interest in games like Crusader Kings or Europa Universalis, or any sort of game that really respects player choice and allows you to do all sorts of things, whichever way you want, King of Dragon Pass is for you. I think it represents some of the core ideas you see in those later Paradox-style 4X games. There's a level of decision-making here that is just unseen in so many other games. King of Dragon Pass builds a unique world in which your decisions carry real weight, and I found myself playing the game over and over again for a unique experience each and every time. In my retro reviews, I look at games that are at least 10 years old, and I see how they've held up now, if they're still worth playing. If you like that idea, be sure to subscribe so you can see the latest videos. If you like this video in particular, be sure to hit that like button, and thanks for watching.